Today we are in Matthew 9, verses 14 to 17.
কিন্তু তোমরা গিয়া শিক্ষা করো এই বচনের মর্ম কি?
This text sounds like it's about fasting, but it's not really about fasting. Here, Jesus is not making a statement about fasting. Instead, he's making a statement about himself. See, fasting, as you probably all know, fasting is a way to show where people show that they are setting aside their physical demands to concentrate on spiritual truths. They would deny themselves food to submit more fully to God. It was believed that only in quieting the impulses of your body can you more effectively find God. I believe there's fasting in Hindu theology. For some, fasting is a spiritual discipline. For other people, fasting is just a sort of a meaningless ritual, but they hope that it earns their way towards God. In other words, some people use fasting to try to find God, and others use it just to get an easy blessing. And for those of you familiar with Islamic theology, fasting is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. As you know, Ramadan is an entire month of fasting. But fasting is never commanded of us Christians in the New Testament. Jesus never even encouraged people to fast. That doesn't mean we can't or shouldn't fast, but it just means that it's never commanded of us. But as I said, this passage is not really about fasting. Instead, Jesus is making a statement about himself. This passage is not really about fasting. Jesus is making a statement about who he is. They ask a question, or better yet, make a statement about fasting, but Jesus uses it as an occasion to talk about himself. So when they ask about fasting, Jesus answers, how can the guests of the bridegroom mourn when he is with them? Jesus uses the picture of a wedding to say that he is like the bridegroom who has come to build a family. And because of who he is and why he has come, this is not a time for fasting, it's a time for celebration. You see, he's talking about himself and who he is, not about the ritual of fasting. See, he says the time for mourning and fasting will be for those 3 days after he has been crucified and before he has risen. So he's using this occasion to make a prophecy about his death and resurrection. He's not talking about fasting. Then Jesus tells a sort of a parable, a story. The parable is about wineskins. Jesus is saying that once he has come, he has changed everything. He's talking about himself. He has a radically new message and a radically new way to live. You can't put Jesus in a box. He's not about being religious or following rules. That's not what this is about. It's about being like Jesus. It's not about rules or rituals, but instead a relationship. Suppose a soldier goes off to war, and while he's away, he writes letters to his wife. When he comes home after the war, it doesn't make sense for him to keep writing letters because they are now in the same house. See, now it can be a conversation and a relationship. It doesn't have to be dependent on writing on a piece of paper. Jesus is saying that now that he is here, there's no need to try to find him with religious rituals. So what comments or questions do they have?
তো এটাই হচ্ছে আজকের এই বিষয়ের শিক্ষা।
হ্যাঁ দাদা, আমি আসলে এখানে এখানে কিন্তু বলা হয়েছে
What he was saying that he understood that fasting is a part of rituals, and here Jesus didn't say anything about fasting, but said that when he is there, he is with us. We don't have to depend on rituals. So he understands the ritual says about fasting, and for Christian people, if we fast, yeah, it doesn't. It's not important. But if we keep our mind really focused on, if we keep focusing on God with right mind, that is all. So that's something he understood, and he wants to know a little bit of that. That if really fasting is a matter, if for the Christians, what does the Bible say about fasting?
Fasting can be helpful if you want to focus on God for a short amount of time, and by skipping a meal, it can help you think about God better. That's fine, but it's never commanded of us.
হ্যাঁ, আপনি যদি একবেলা না খেয়ে যিশুর জন্য সময় দিতে চান, যিশুতে ঈশ্বরের মনোনিবেশ করতে চান,
ঠিক ঠিক
When your brain demands a lot of blood flow.
আপনার
When you eat, your body diverts the blood flow to your stomach and to your digestive system. And so when you fast, it can help you think better. And so there are values in fasting if you want to pray and focus on God. But we don't do it just as a ritual, and Jesus never commands it. You see, fasting, if you're using fasting as a religious ritual because you think it gets you closer to God, fasting doesn't work as a religious ritual. Jesus is not interested in rituals, but he does want you to focus on him. And if fasting helps you focus on God, that's fine. But if you think just doing the ritual is going to give you a better relationship, it doesn't work that way. Okay, Shanta wants to talk.
দাদা কারেন্ট চলে গেছিল তো এজন্যই ভালো বুঝতে পারিনি।
শান্ত কোনো কিছু বলবি? শান্ত?
আমিও ওই তাপস দাদার সঙ্গে একমত যে আমিও আসলে খুব ভালো একটা
Thank you. Shoaib says that it was unclear for him also about the fasting thing. So he thanked you to for your lesson, for your teaching, enlightening, so he could understand the meaning of fasting today more than that he understood or he knew before. That the question comes that why Jesus was fasting then?
Okay, Kakali, were you the one asking why was Jesus fasting then? Okay, Jesus was not fasting. That's what they were asking. They said, why do John's disciples fast and why do the Pharisees fast, but Jesus does not? See, that was the occasion for the question. Jesus was not fasting. We have no record of Jesus fasting except during his temptation.
তাহলে তাহলে যে আমরা প্রতি বছর যে এই উৎসব এই বিষয়টা আমরা আমাদের
So the question is that in the charts in nowadays we find that before before Easter,
এভরি ইয়ার প্রত্যেক বছরই
even we from the church they ask us to fast. So what, and people fast for a month, keep fasting for a month. So doesn't that have any biblical background? Then why do they really fast and ask people to fast?
Fasting can be a good spiritual discipline to help you focus on God. But it is it's not commanded of us, and it's not like it earns you any closer relationship. It's not a ritual like that. It's just to help you focus not so much on earthly things, but more on godly things.
আমি 1 মিনিট কথা বলি দাদা, শোনো।
আরেকটু ঠিক আছে, সবই ঠিক আছে। আরেকটু এরকম মনে আমার কাছে লাগে যে
আমি তো আজকে ভালোভাবে শুনতে পারিনি, তারপরও
What Sister Kakuli said that if we keep fasting, it's better to keep fasting for Jesus, not for sacrificing in your body, not for doing something in your body, but do something for Jesus. So or meditate about Jesus things, study or go to learn more about, give him time. That will give some credit of your fast. If you do fast for a ritual, that means nothing.
Yes. Christianity, here, let me say it. I don't know what words to use that you and they will understand, Shubro. The Catholic Church believes in sacramentalism, which means there are things that we can do that obligate God to bless us. But that is not in the Bible. The Catholic Church believes that if we fast, God has to bless us, or if we get baptized, God has to bless us, or if we whatever. But the Bible is not, Christianity is not sacramental. And so fasting does not earn us any blessings, but it can be a good practice to focus on God.
It's clear. Thank you.